Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPad mini 7 and see how this particular iPad holds up in 2025. Now, this iPad is not really that old of an iPad as you can imagine. It just came out barely even a year ago. And the thing I can tell you about the iPad mini 7 is that it's a good iPad. It has a lot of stuff going on with it. But for the most part, if you're going to go through and use an iPad mini, just keep in mind that you can still go through and buy some, used iPads that might be, in the used market that are older, but might be giving you some better type of experience here and there. So we'll take a look at it throughout the whole entire video. But if you do want to go ahead and pick up some tablets that I would recommend buying this year, links will be down in the description below. You can get that from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of the iPad mini 7. This particular iPad came out back in 2024 in October. So I'm filming this in July of 2025, so this thing is barely even a year old. So because of that, you have to remember that this type of device is still going to be able to give you a good type of experience, right? I think that's one of those things to keep in mind here, because this type of device is still going to be able to give you a good, solid experience, even though they didn't change much with the body from the 2021 iPad mini 6 to this iPad mini. I still think it's a good looking iPad for sure. On the front side of the iPad mini 7, I guess if you want to call it that, it's going to be giving you an 8.3-inch liquid retina IPS LCD panel. So this panel and this tablet is not supposed to be the most expensive tablet of all time. It's supposed to be a good priced, cheap alternative to maybe some other iPads out there in the market, right? It's supposed to be a smaller iPad that's supposed to be giving you some sort of, good type of capability. Otherwise, it's not supposed to be this big iPad Pro or anything like that. And the panel of this thing still looks pretty decent. It's, fairly high resolution, 1488 by 2266. That is actually a pretty good high resolution to have inside of this type of device as well. So you're realistically speaking going to be getting a pretty good, experience from this type of iPad. It's a smaller size, but it still is a good size, which is something that I actually like a lot within this type of device when it comes down to it. So that right there, I think is a really nice thing to kind of experience here inside of this type of device when it kind of comes down to it, at least from that side. Now, it's still giving you USB Type-C at the bottom, which all iPads give you that now. When it comes down to the Apple Pencil support, this iPad does support Apple Pencil, the second generation. So that is something really nice to have here, right? I personally love having, Apple Pencil support, and you're going to be able to get that here inside of this type of device. So that right there, I think is going to be a really nice thing to basically have. And, it's way better than having Apple Pencil 1 support or that other Apple Pencil support. At least having Apple Pencil 2 support is going to be the best way to go in terms of these types of, iPads. Flat sides all throughout, so that still feels really nice. On the back side, you're just getting the standard Apple logo. Then you're getting this single camera setup on the back side as well. So that's kind of the camera that you're getting. It's in the top left corner, and it still looks good overall, right? This iPad overall still feels fairly good. It doesn't feel terrible. It feels good. It looks good. And if you're getting a smaller sized iPad, you're definitely going to be able to get a good type of experience inside of this type of iPad, at least when it comes down to it from that side. So in my personal opinion, I think that kind of covers it up there for the most part. When it comes down to the price tag side, this iPad definitely is going to be, it's a brand new iPad. If you buy it in the used market, it is going to be a little bit less expensive. It's going to be able to save some money there. So I feel like that right there could be a good type of thing to kind of, be able to experience inside of that type of device, because it is going to be a slightly cheaper type of device in the used market. But again, if you buy it in the brand new market, it's also not super expensive there either. Now, when it comes down to the cameras, like I said before, this iPad is going to be giving you a single camera setup on the back side. So it's going to be able to give you a single 12 megapixel camera on the back and a 12 megapixel ultra-wide camera on the front. So the thing I can tell you about this type of camera just right now is that, it is a good type of camera. If you are about to go through and pick up a lens, I do think this type of camera does a good job at giving you a good, solid experience throughout. Now, with that being said, I still think that if you're going to go through and use an iPad camera all the time, you might want to go through and look for something like, the iPad Pros. Those ones might be able to give you kind of an overall better type of experience. But I will still tell you, for the most part, being able to go through and get this type of iPad, it still is going to be a good, solid type of experience. Even though it wouldn't necessarily be like the best performing iPad of all time, I still think you're going to be getting a good, okay type of experience inside of this type of device from a camera perspective. And I do think that right there, it is one of those big things to keep in mind there as well. So 4K at 60 on the back, 1080p at 60 on the front. So I still think there's a lot of good stuff to kind of keep in mind here inside of this type of lens. And that's kind of the main way to kind of think about it from that side. So from that side too, I think that kind of covers it up there as well. Now, on top of that, another very important thing to keep in mind here too is the fact that when you're going to go through and pick up a phone like this, you have to remember that these types of devices still are basically going to be able to give you, really good software support. This thing is still giving you about the same chipset as like a really good type of device, right? Like this thing is doing a really good job overall at kind of a majority of things that you kind of throw at it. So you're really not going to be missing out on too much there when it comes down to it from that side, in my personal opinion. So because of this thing's chipset and because it's giving you like a very good type of chipset inside, you're going to be able to get a very good type of experience inside of this type of iPad as far as I can tell. Battery life wise, this thing is giving you a very big, size battery. It's a 5078 milliamp battery. So that right there as well is going to be another big advantage for you inside of this type of iPad. And if you're going to go through and pick up some sort of a device, you're definitely going to be feeling like you're getting a good type of iPad, at least from that particular situation. So it's still going to feel very premium. It's still going to feel very good. And I do think from a battery life perspective, this iPad is good. Not the best, but it's good. It's also giving you the Apple A17 Pro chipset inside with 8 gigabytes of RAM. So just that in and of itself, like this iPad is definitely going to be able to give you a really good type of experience from that side as well. So that right there, I think is another really nice thing to basically experience there too. So you're still going to be able to go through and get a really good solid experience when it comes down to that iPad standpoint. And that right there is another really nice thing to basically be able to have there, because this iPad is going to be giving you a very good, fast performing device. It's going to look very good still. It's going to perform very well. And I would imagine that if you are about to go through and pick up an iPad, you are still about to go through and get an iPad here that is going to be able to give you a good, solid, fast experience. Now, when I compare this against some other M series of chipsets, the A17 Pro chipset is very fast. So whether you're playing games or you're going to go through and do some video editing or do whatever really you want to do here, this type of device is going to be able to handle it. And it's really nice because this thing supports that second generation Apple Pencil. So you are able to go through and get a little bit of a better type of layout for using that stylus and everything like that inside of this type of device when it comes down to it as well, which is another really big advantage here. So overall, what I can definitely tell you is that I personally am a really big fan of the, iPad mini 7. I think this is a really good type of device. I think it's for sure worth buying. And if you're in the market, I would highly recommend, buying this type of iPad, right? It's one of the best iPads you could buy. But at the same time, I would probably also say that if you're in the market, it could also make more sense to go through and buy something maybe that could be a little bit like if you want to buy an M1 iPad Air or an M2 iPad Air, those ones might make a little bit more sense. They're, if you want to buy those in the used market, those ones might be giving you an overall better type of experience rather than this one. That's not to say these are like bad iPads or anything like that. These are really good iPads, but I would imagine that if you want to save some money, get an M1 iPad Air or get an M2 iPad Air and maybe spend about the same amount of money. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that will mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.